You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. There's something in the air, the dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time will somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the farce revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic all the hearts ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever, the secret is whenever, the secret is together we are.
Good morning, St. George. Welcome to our Sunday celebration at Centers for Spiritual Living based in St. George. My name is Bill Smith. I'll be your host today. Just want to talk about a few things before we introduce Alan and get on with some music. One of our practices is centered around the acronym ARISE, where A stands for awareness, the R for radical responsibility, the I for an inside-out focus. And I recently heard a quote yesterday that somebody said, if you don't go within, you get without. You go without. There you go. Got it right. Kind of, sort of. The S is for spirit, and that spirit is all there is. And the E is for everyone is doing the best they can with what they have and where they are. And so am I. So that acronym tends to come in handy very often. Our vision here at CSL St. George is that we are a community-focused center, actively living, sharing, and nurturing its members and friends so that all of us may live our best lives. Our mission, Center for Spiritual Living St. George, is an open, inclusive. Thank you for making that bigger, Marina. It was going to be an eye chart for me. Open, inclusive, and evolving spiritual community that supports its purpose and vision in the following 6 ways. I think there's 6. Yeah. Sacred wisdom celebrations, empowering transformative education, youth and young adult programs, dynamic music ministry, and both community inreach and community outreach, both of which are very important. I'm backed up with a tremendous team today. As I mentioned, I'm your host. Marina Anderson is behind the screen making all this stuff work, audio and visual and all that. Speaking of audio, we've got Alan Stanley coming in to do a few really good songs for music for us today. And Stephanie Sterrett, one of our practitioners here at Centers for Spiritual Living, will be coming in a second and doing her our invocation. And she's also going to come back later and do a reading. And then, of course, our own Reverend Joe Kovach is doing today's talk. So it's a good lineup. Hope you stick around and stay with us for the duration. Now, I think, speaking of Alan, we're going to bring Alan in, and he's going to do a couple songs for us today. But what are you leading off with, Alan?
I'm going to start off with a Karen Drucker song called Namaste, and I'm clashing. My earbuds quit a minute ago. So, can you hear me, Bill?
It's quite fetching, Alan. I like it.
Fetch. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. In your eyes I see the light that's shining through. You radiate such grace. Now I bow to you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. You give your loving heart to everyone you see. The way you live your life inspires me. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you.
I love that. Thank you, Alan. Okay, I'm going to pray us in right here. And I do this by speaking in first person because in science of mind, there's only one mind. And so knowing that is a process. And I state it unequivocally today. I know there is only one mind, and that mind is God's mind, and that mind is my mind right here and right now, bringing this session into fruition for the hearts and minds of all who are listening. I know that there is a place within that honors this in you, that honors this in each and every one of us, that there is no separation. And so I bless this service with that knowing. I bless all who are entertaining everyone with their thoughts. And I embrace that each one of us has within us a sanctuary that is whole and complete. And from that, all healing takes place. And so knowing this, I release it into the law that says yes, as today's service begins, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Stephanie. In your eyes I see a light that's shining through. You radiate such grace, so I bow to you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Namaste, namaste. I see the beauty in you. Now I'd like to bring Stephanie back to offer our reading today. Hello, Stephanie, again.
Okay, everyone. I've got just a couple of quotes. One from Ernest Holmes in the today's reading from the Science of Mind magazine states, if someone sees only unloveliness in others, it is because unloveliness is a strong element in themselves. Because I took that to heart, meaning me, I judged myself a lot. And so I found out recently that that's not the truth, that I can do that without judgment, and there is a way. So my next quote is from Jeff Foster. Strictly speaking, you do not heal from trauma. You simply reconnect from that secret space inside that was never traumatized, never damaged, never unsafe, and never unhealed in the first place. Healing involves remembering this inner sanctuary, reconnecting with the wholeness, love, beauty, and true safety that you are in your essence. You are not broken, my friend. You are unbreakable. And this is an affirmation that I use. And so feel free to kind of speak it for yourself as I read it. I affirm that my presence brings comfort and peace to those around me. My compassionate heart creates a safe place where others can find solace and strength. Each interaction I have carries the potential for remembering, whether through a kind word, attentive listening, or gentle guidance. My hands and voice are instruments of healing, channeling positive energy to those in need. I recognize the divine spark in every person I encounter, honoring their journey while offering support without judgment. My intuition guides me to provide exactly what others need in the moment, sometimes wisdom, sometimes silence, and sometimes action. I am a conduit for healing energy, allowing it to flow freely through me to benefit others. I balance giving with necessary self-care, knowing that maintaining my own well-being enhances my ability to help. Every act of service, no matter how small, ripples outward and contributes to universal remembrance. I trust that as I help others, I too am remembering, creating a beautiful cycle of restoration and growth. And so it is.
So it is. That's beautiful, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to do a song. There's no lyrics for this one. I have to be honest. I forgot I was doing it today. So we're going to do it anyway. I think most of you know the words, so please sing along. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our one source, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Oh, there I am. Alan, you rocked that one. Thank you. And I know it was a last minute change and whatnot, but and I give you credit for hitting that. That was a high pitched song. So
Thank you,
I was
Joe.
trying to sing it with you, and I had to knock myself down about 12 octaves. So good job.
Okay.
Thank you and good morning. Good morning, CSL St. George. Good morning, wherever you are. I hope you are enjoying an absolutely fantastic day. Yeah, peace begins with me. Next time we sing that, we'll put the words up because it's not your traditional words. Of course, we add a little science of mind to it. And the reason I asked Alan to sing that song was because in part of my preparation for this talk, I came across a website called thepeaceschool.org, and they offer a free meditation on their website. And it is simply the words inhale world, exhale peace. And it's like a mantra meditation. And I thought that was wonderful. First of all, very aligned with our teaching in this idea of, well, as Stephanie said, there's just one mind. And I want to make sure what came to me when she was speaking, because I believe that there's always new people watching us. When we talk about mind, we're not talking about brain. And I think a lot of people confuse that. And so what we recognize in truth and in science backs up what we believe, which is everything is consciousness. Everything is energy. So we call it mind in the sense of consciousness is thought. And what we recognize to be true in each of our lives is that those thoughts that we hold are energetic. Thinking thoughts of anger has an anger frequency, and therefore we attract angry things and so forth. It's like, again, the idea of putting out a signal from an antenna. And so if we are feeling, and today's talk is all about conflict and inner turmoil and transforming that, as Alan's saying, it begins with me. It's about the journey, the process of shifting our thoughts, our beacon, so to speak, from so-called negative or non-life affirming thoughts and beliefs to those that are more life affirming, those that feel good because they are higher energy. So going back to this idea of inhale world, exhale peace, it's simple, but it's profound because it's the idea and a reminder that the peace that we all wish to experience in the world starts within us and has to begin with us. We can't expect the world to change if we're not going to change, if we're not going to at least be open to receiving a new signal, so to speak. And it emphasizes that true peace can only come from the abundance of peace that exists as what we call God or source or the universe or life. Pick your word, that's fine. So we recognize that peace is already there. It must be. That is what God is. That is what spirit is. And yet we're having this experience as if we cannot receive that. It's not. We look around and we choose not to experience that. And going back to the arise that Bill talked about us as our purpose, it's about recognizing, becoming aware of, and then becoming radically responsible for our thoughts. Oh, I'm not experiencing the peace in the world. I got to start here, because here's the truth. Whatever you say God is or source is or life is, the only way we know is individually. I've read a lot of books about religion, about philosophy and so forth, and did a lot of studying, but it still all comes down to each of ours personal connection. And part of that is recognizing that we're all having a different individualized personal connection to source and trying to get to this place of peace, which technically is already there because one mind, right? And when we say that, meaning the universe is whole, it's all connected. We know this, we've proven it, and you can prove it in your life. But at the same time, getting to peace, it's an inside job, right? It's not it's as much as it is an outside circumstance, that's reflective of what's going on inside of us. And science of mind, again, not brain, but science of mind, of consciousness, of thought, of awareness, of beingness, right? That's where we start, because that's where the inner state of how we feel about life shows up. And when we're not aware and we're just reacting to what's showing up, it's very easy to get confused and caught up in what's going up, because I look on the news and I see a lot of not peace happening. I see a lot of war. I see a lot of anger. I see a lot of people hurting people in an infinite number of ways. And yet, here's the honest truth. That's the signal that the world currently is operating at. Which means, though, if I agree with that, I have now latched on, connected to that signal. If we are going to rise above and experience peace in our own space, which is the only way we can, we must begin with ourselves. And so, therefore, the idea of taking care of conflict becomes a spiritual practice. Because what we end up doing is aligning with spiritual truth, or we call it principle, meaning it's the same for everyone. It's not just fact because I want it to be, fact because it feels good. It's fact because it's provable that it's the same for each person, whether they believe it or not. So kind of like, I think it was Henry Ford who said, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you are correct. That's this really philosophy of science of mind. Is what you think is what the only thing that you can experience. So again, the energy that's coming through us, we filter it through our own perceptions. And if we want to experience peace, we have to fine tune that lens so that the light and the picture coming out of us, like a movie screen, movie projector, the picture coming out of us is one of peace. It starts with the source. It starts with the light that's shining through. But let us remember that we are always coming in and out of frequencies of different thoughts. We can be having an amazing day, and then all of a sudden something happens and it kind of like bumps us, jars us out of our happy place. And then if we're well practiced, if we're well grounded, then we're able to kind of get back on that. And we need those experiences. We need to have what's called the contrast or the discord, or people that don't think like we do, because how else can I prove to me, like, oh, I'm happy, I enjoy this. Why do I enjoy this? Well, I don't enjoy that, and that is the opposite of what I like. So it's important to recognize those things that we don't like, that they direct us in the avenue of us, with our free will, choosing the life we want. So Neville Goddard has a quote, and he says, "The world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is." So that's a nice way of saying, right, what's going on inside of us, that's the energy. That's the only thing that we can, we're casting that out. We're putting a globe of energy around us and saying, this is what I expect. I expect there to always be war. I expect hatred. I expect to turn on the news and see all these not nice things. But what happens if we begin to fine tune that? Excuse me. Alan sang the words, right? Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me, right? That captures, in essence, what I'm saying. Here's what I want to experience, peace on earth. But it has to begin with me, not just thinking, but showing up as a peaceful person, right? So we start with, self-awareness. We start with some forgiveness. Because as we go within, we're going to recognize, as a peaceful person, there's a lot of times where I have showed up not so peaceful. Matter of fact, the opposite of peaceful. It takes empathy of recognizing that everybody has the right to live the way they choose, no matter how much it may be conflicting, in essence, with regards to what I want to experience. The only way that what they're doing can affect me is if I allow it, if I tune into their frequency and start pushing against, right? There is no, it's with regards to the law of attraction, there is no. So if I say, like the old adage, say no to drugs. If I tell you, say no to drugs, what your brain hears doesn't hear no or say, it just hears the topic, drugs. And it's been proven. And so, hey, don't get sick. And I know we'd say that meaning well, but how about, hey, I see you well. The next time I see you, you'll be well. We put that energy out there. And then our mind hears, well, that's right. I'm experiencing some sickness, some allergies, whatever, but I am well. I can get there. There's a way. So one of the, in this talk, preparing, came across Martin Luther King, some insights that he had, and there was a thing that called negative versus positive peace, right? So he distinguished between negative and positive peace. And negative peace, he referred to as the mere, it's to, how do I say this? It refers to the mere absence of violence or conflict. In other words, a situation where we're experiencing tension, and instead of like really taking care of it at the source, we just kind of suppress things. Like, so we're kind of, we get things chilled out, so to speak, but we haven't really taken care of the root cause. So it's a state where like our problems are temporarily resolved, so to speak. Well, we'll use the word resolved because they're not. So temporarily quieted, but not resolved. Okay. So that's negative peace. And in contrast to that, there's positive peace. Now, this is a deeper understanding and relationship with ourselves and with our faith about it, right? So part of positive peace, obviously, is right thinking, meaning aligned with the highest and most positive thoughts that we can have. Some of that would be justice and equality, and the putting the thoughts out there of the well-being of everybody else. And positive peace, again, opposite of negative peace, does aim to address the source of conflict. Now, it can be difficult because the source of conflict isn't out here. It's in each one that is involved in the conflict. And so everybody's coming from a different angle, energetically speaking, consciously speaking. We're all coming from different points of view or different frequencies. And it's the idea of coming to a point of peace in spite of all that, of recognizing that there can be harmony among all of that. It's kind of like the analogy that just came to my head is if, let's say you have a quadruplet of musicians and they're all playing a different key, but their goal is to sound good together, to get along together, then individually they would kind of have to agree to a certain key and then play that. And so now at least maybe we make some compromises, but in the end, I just really want to play music and sound good. That would allow us to do that. And that's a simple idea, but we can use that to solve many of the issues that exist in the world. Right? So if peace is really what we're seeking, some things we have to ask ourselves. First of all, are our thoughts in alignment with peace? Are our behaviors and emotions in alignment with peace? Right? So it's easy to say, and I think I gave the example before, and I'll say it again. There was one time before I even found Science of Mind, or maybe in the beginning, where I was like, oh, I have the choice, infinite possibilities. I can wake up every day and be who I want to be. And being a former Roman Catholic, I was like, you know what? Jesus is a good figure. He saw the best in everyone always, and he always took the road of peace. And so I'm going to be like Jesus. I'm not trying to be Jesus, but I want to be that peaceful. I just want to see peace in everything and be that light and bring peace to everything. And so the next day, I was working in a middle school and it was absolutely chaos. And I started off with good intentions and very quickly became a reactor, meaning I started reacting to all the chaos. And I came home later on that evening to journal and I was like, what the heck was that? Like, I say I'm going to be a person of peace, and all that happened was, just jerks showing up and challenging me and people not understanding me and da. And then it hit me. Those were all opportunities to show up as a peaceful person. And I didn't succeed, but I still remember the lesson, right? That in order to be something, that you have to have the contrast in this experience to know that you're being it. Let's put it this way. If none of us existed and there was just one of us in this existence, we didn't even know who we are because we have nothing to compare it to. So Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Say that again. Seek first to understand, than to be understood. This principle is the key to effective interpersonal communication and conflict resolution. So in other words, yes, we know what we want, but we have to understand what they want if we're going to resolve some conflict. We can't think we know. We have to listen to them and with empathy and just really say, ask those questions. Here's what I'm saying. Is this what you mean? You said this, but this is not to me. I'm not hearing this align with what you said. And so the more clear we get, the more able to come to a resolution we are. So if we're ready to say, hey, I'm ready to live at the highest level, right? Then again, like always, it goes back to what we've been talking about in the last 2 weeks, which is knowing ourself, knowing our boundaries, making choices. This is who I am. This is at this point what I will tolerate. This is where I'm comfortable, right? We have to do that deep investigation and bring to the light, right? In other words, bring to the awareness of our mind, light, enlightened, what our current beliefs and paradigms are, so that we can, when confronted with conflict, already know who we are and be okay with it. And that would allow us then to simply focus on listening to the other. If the only thing happening here is God showing up in our lives, then that other person, whether it's a small conflict over where we're going to eat or a major conflict between countries, we're all of the same source. We know that in absolutely every great ancient wisdom or tradition or religion, call it what you will, but one divine creator, period. So we are of that, everyone. So then if we just focus on that and we allow that, that's right there is a great place to begin our path of peace. Right. And so once we know, again, who we are, take that time, then I'm not dealing with in the middle of an argument, trying to make something work for me that I'm not really even sure of. But I know who I am. It's well thought. It's not just because that person pisses me off and I don't like that, so I'm anti that person. We got to go deeper than that. What do I see in that person? Because what did we start with? That everything in our experience is a reflection of our own thoughts, our own filter. Remember that light, that source is shining through us, through the film or our mind, our thoughts and our beliefs, and that's what we're looking at on the screen. That's our life. That's not coming from anywhere else but within us. Now, we get caught up in the blame game. That doesn't help. Because if I'm blaming you for me not being happy, then I have given you my power. Because I'm saying I can't be happy until you do this, until he does that, until so-and-so is in the government or so-and-so's whatever. We're giving up our power to be in joy, to be at peace at least. That is an inside choice. That is only a choice that you and I can make for each other. I can see you at peace. I know you can be in peace. That does nothing for you. I will say nothing. That's not true, because I do believe energy is energy and we can be influenced in a positive way. Right? But we have to know for ourselves. And so here's a good analogy of it. This is a story I heard from Wayne Dyer it's in the book, but the DVD, The Power of Intention. And he says, and I'll use me as the main character. So I was in my house the other day and I'm getting ready to go out to the garage into the car, and there was a power failure. I can't see a thing. I can't see my hand in front of my face. And on the way, trying to move around, I bump into some furniture. I drop the keys. And so the lights are off and I'm trying to find where my keys are. And I'm looking around and I'm feeling on them and I can't find them. And then all of a sudden I recognize that for whatever reason, the house is dark, but the street light's on out in front of my house. And I have a thought. Well, it's dark in here. I can't see anything. So I'm going to go outside where the light is and I'm going to look for my keys. It makes sense. And so there I am. And I'm outside and I'm looking around. I'm under the street light and I'm looking for my keys. And my neighbor pulls up and he's like, Joe, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm looking for my keys. And he goes, well, I'll help you join. We're looking around. He says, well, where were you when you lost your keys? And I said, well, I was in the house, but the lights went out. Of course, he says, well, why are you out here looking for your keys? And that's the whole point of the story. Why do we go outside of ourselves looking for something that can only be found within? And it takes commitment to go within and simply, what do I mean by that? Just be quiet. Call it what you will, meditation, whatever. Just be quiet within yourself and ask yourself a question and listen for a divine answer. It's always going to be in alignment with truth. Always. If somehow you receive something that doesn't make you feel good, then that is usually you at an ego level answering you, and not you as a divine being answering you. So it's our own ability to connect with the inner peace that will profoundly transform our ability to experience that peace in the world. And so again, it's about personal transformation. The more that we open, the more that we're open. So if the more that I'm willing to do some small practices of peace and some inner work, maybe I start part-time. That's okay. Start right where you're at. Right? But start with this great quote in mind, which is, there is a power in you that can overcome all obstacles. It will lift you out of confusion and enable you to see clearly what is before you. Right? Ernest Holmes always says, right, there's a power within you, within the world, and you can use it to transform your life. That's what we're talking about. That power already exists. We may not feel it, but that's because we have, as I always said, the damper switch or the enlightenment switch, we pull it down. The lights get dark. We're the ones that are doing that. And we're the ones that slowly or quickly elevate and turn up the light so that, hey, there's the keys right where I dropped them. I knew they were there. I had them. I dropped them. I knew it had to be there. Just like when it's like, I was happy. What happened? I gave it up somehow. Maybe I blame someone else. Maybe we're just going through life, a life experience. Maybe there is some loss. Maybe there is some trauma. Maybe there's a relationship that's no longer in your life for whatever reason. Yet we can still be at peace. There's a lot of people say, well, you have to do this. This is how you should be behaving. And I'm going to tell you, no, we get to decide what that looks like. So we each have, again, we're each a beacon. We each have this localized frequency of peace that we're connecting to and allowing in and then emitting back out. So we each are that peace. As God is perfect, whole, and complete, we can't receive something less than perfect, whole, and complete. God cannot create something less than perfect, whole, and complete, which means you and I are having this experience only as being incomplete. And there is a journey that we are having that we get to understand, to raise what we think we know and put it into practice. It takes courage, my friends. It does. But the payoff is to live a more profound, comfortable, conscious life where every day you wake up and you're in love with life itself. That is it. And it transforms, individual sections of our life. I was noticing my mother made her physical transition back at the end of March. And I realized that the way I feel about death now is so different. That my mind kept telling me I need to be just up in my room and crying and so on and so forth. But my heart is happy because there is no true death. Right? There is only, at the very least, we can say there's this world and then there's the real world, which is of spirit. And they're not separate, they're connected. That spirit that and lives within me and as me is what is true always. This body is not true in the sense of it's going to last forever or whatever, because everything that is an expression of truth will change. But we are divine expressions of the truth as the truth. And so, it is my belief is that she's back in pure spirit form and without all the negativity of this experience. We drop that because that is not of the highest thought. God knows nothing of fear, of pain. It is an experience, but it is not the truth, right? And so in order to make this journey, we have to be vulnerable. And Brene Brown, if you've never read any of her books, she's an amazing author, especially about vulnerability. She talks that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. It requires us to be present and engage with others in a meaningful way, which is crucial for conflict resolution. Again, that first place, though, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. It doesn't have to be scary. And even if it is, kind of feels a little uncomfortable. All right, I'm uncomfortable because I'm making some positive changes here. Right. And so when we start with the idea of being personally responsible to achieve the peace that we're looking for, okay, radical responsibility, the R in arise in our purpose, right? That means we have to recognize our own contributions to this discord or conflict that is in front of us, or else it wouldn't be there. Everything that shows up in our lives is a vibrational match to the energy that we're giving out, no matter what it is. And so we can choose. And here's the key to healing. It's like recognizing in every circumstance, there's a gift. It's a divine gift. It's a gift of truth. And if we're not experiencing that truth, and what do I mean by that? Meaning no matter how, and we're not saying that things don't exist and we'll do what we call spiritual bypass. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to pretend that my mom didn't pass. I'm not going to pretend that there wasn't some inner conflict with initially how I was thinking about her. But I went in and I'm like, what are these thoughts that are causing me still some anger? And I went in and I looked at that. And I made a decision to say, okay, those are my thoughts. And those thoughts are keeping me from experiencing the truth of who my mom is, all the positive parts of her life, because I was focused on some discord. And when I went in and simply chose, after some work, to release that discord and shift back to the positive thoughts that I did have at one time, then the peace came. And I think that's why I didn't have to experience a great amount of sadness and more joy, because it is a joyful experience, right? It's not always easy. And I'm not asking you to say, oh, it's easy, Joe, for you. Maybe, or maybe. Well, what I'm simply telling you is the peace and the healing that you believe you need is there right now. And it's a personal journey. And yet, please let us understand, you don't have to do this by yourself. Okay, whether you reach out to one of our practitioners to help you through it, or a therapist, or a counselor, or a life coach, or a wise person, a guru, whatever. Right? We don't have to go through this alone, because sometimes it is confusing. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. Now, in that moment, well, always I say pray. Right? Pray. We acknowledge God as all there is, and we acknowledge that we are divinely aligned with that. So there's no separation. My mind, the thoughts that I think are in the one mind. They're God thoughts. And so there are higher thoughts that I can choose. And that is what we're doing. We're reaching for the highest thoughts. So in conclusion, it's like, reaching the frequency of peace it's not a one-time achievement. It's not hey, I got there like a video game and I'm the champion of peace. No, it's a continual process that we have to work at on a continual basis. Why is that? Well, it's like, think about climbing a hill, right? You climb the hill and you get up to the top of the hill and you've accomplished that. But now you have a whole new perspective. You're coming at another level, in essence, of living. And there are still going to be some challenges along the way. And so even though I may be at peace, let's say I'm at peace here, I got to this peace and now I'm at peace level 10, but there's infinite levels of peace. So there's always more peace to experience. Speaking of Wayne Dyer, I want to share a quote by him. He says, "You are always a valuable, worthwhile human being, not because anybody says so, not because you're successful, not because you make a lot of money, but because you decide to believe it, and for no other reason." You don't need someone's permission to feel good about yourself. Again, that's giving our power away. So let's recognize that you're already worthy. And it's simply not about only doing, but we're going to talk about that. Doing things, being, let's put it this way, you have to be it before we can truly do it. And we can do it to prove that we're being it, right? But if we start with this, I'm not worthy, I can't do it, I don't have the skills, pray, because the skills are available. And it's never been easier that we're aware of in modern history to get skills, to get resources, to get what we need in order to transform. Now, one of the simple things I do, I wanted to share with you is before I go to bed, and sometimes this takes a minute, sometimes it takes longer. But before I go to bed and sleep, I'll take a breath, and then I simply start reviewing my day in my head. And I think about generally kind of start in the morning, and I'll first go through with the positives, the things that I was happy about, the times that I chose to be better, to show up better, to do better. And then I kind of, I will say mentally, pat myself on the back, right? We must celebrate ourselves. Because if we're waiting for somebody else to come again, then we've given our power away. I can only be happy when you notice it. But that's not true happiness. And finally, to get to a quote by our founder, Ernest Holmes, he says, we should love ourselves so much that we cannot cause ourselves hurt, nor grief, nor sorrow, nor sadness, because all these things are foreign to the spirit, and they do not belong to the reality of our being. So what happens if we begin to simply say, I am joyful, I am at peace now, and recite that over? So that is the dominant, after a while, that will become the dominant thought, the dominant energy that we're broadcasting. Starts with a review. And then I go, as I'm reviewing my day, if I come across a place where I'm not happy with it, that I didn't show up well, that there was an opportunity for growth and I chose the opposite direction, or I joined the status quo and everybody was arguing, so I just felt like I had to throw my argument in there. Okay, this is all human nature. I'm not going to say it's wrong, but it won't get us to where we want to be if where we're trying to be is joyful, grateful, and love, right? And so on. And then instead of beating myself up, I'm like, okay, what is the lesson I can learn? Why did I choose that path? Okay. And be patient, because to change mental habits takes some time. Be patient. Right? So be grateful for all that is, because that conflict that's on the outside will and must, by universal spiritual principle and law, transform as the energy within us transforms. Okay. It's like simply moving from one state of consciousness on a low hill. Okay. We're going up to a new hill. That feels better. I'm experiencing less chaos, less conflict, less confusion. That means you're on the right path. So I did create a affirmation for us today. It's a longer one, but I think to me, sometimes the short, quick ones don't always lock in as much for me, just speaking for me. But here's the affirmation. I communicate with others clearly, lovingly, and peacefully, because I am clear, I am loving, and I am at peace. Now, here's your home practice. Use this. Don't just do it in the morning and in the afternoon, okay? Because that's kind of like trying to clean the grill one swipe at a time per day. You're going to get there sooner or later, but it could take a long time. But we're trying to, the more we say it, the more we're literally amping up our energy, which will, as we know, transform our lives. One day at a time, one moment at a time, one thought at a time. And so I'm going to close with prayer, and then I'd like you to join me, and I'm going to speak in the first person, because as I recognize there is only one source, one life, one God that is expressing itself in, as, and through all of life. That one mind, that one life, that one love is my life, my love, my very breath. I am not separate from the divine creator. I am it being expressed. in this life. And I know and declare that the peace that is of the Creator, of God, of Source, is present in my life now. And I choose to tune to that frequency and only to that frequency. I choose to be absolutely responsible for where I am at. And so if I am not currently on that frequency, on that channel of peace and love and joy, then I recognize by praying now and releasing any thought or belief that would stem me from experiencing is released with ease and with grace. That I am worthy of experiencing the peace and the love and the joy of life itself at its fullest. That I no longer give my power away to others. No one has to do anything to make me feel happy, feel joy, feel loved. That I can experience that now in this moment, because that is what God is always expressing out in, as, and through. For there is nothing outside of God and there is nothing missing. And I just open myself to the fullness of receiving. I make changes within myself joyfully, and I'm okay. I affirm that there are places where maybe I don't have all that I need, and it's okay to receive help. And I ask and I know that that help will come to me in the perfect and the highest and the best way. So I'm grateful for this moment. I'm so grateful for this community of CSL St. George. I'm grateful for all the ones that are listening and will ever listen to this talk and know that they are already living that perfect life right where they are right now. And yet there's more to be lived. God is good all the time, and so it is. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Joe. What a powerful message. So many important takeaways. And I think the one that I come across, or that I'm choosing to bring with me, is peace really is an inside job. I mean, it really does come down to the person and the individual, and to make that happen within ourselves. So thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely. That. And I hope everybody joins us for the talk after our service right now.
Yeah, we can unpack all the other stuff. So,
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. We have a few announcements before we jump off to that afterwards Zoom. First, I want to talk about the first announcement is about prosperity. As a center, we rely on your gifts, and there are many ways that you can give to Centers for Spiritual Living St. George. I do it through Zelle, which is really easy, and through a bank. You can also give online by scanning the PayPal link. Or you can look at it in our website, CSLSG.org. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Drop a check in the mail to us. The address is in our website, on our website, and the weekly letter. And as an affirmation for the offerings that are given, we recite this affirmation. I am overflowing with love and abundance. I give from the source of my being, which is rich and unlimited. With joy and excitement, I share from this overflow. In return, the universe gives back to me in infinite ways, infinite channels, and infinite means. And so it is. All right. Join us at noon for a Zoom conversation. We got 6 more minutes, and then we'll be over there. Our next in-person service is May 25th, which is a week from today. Reverend Rachel is going to be talking about overcoming silence. Details are in the newsletter and on our website. If anyone would like a prayer request, please go to our website. Just click on one of the pictures of the practitioners. There's 5 of us that are available for a moment of prayer anytime. And if you do so, we will contact the rest of the practitioner staff and the ministers to make sure that your prayer is well distributed and well prayed on. So are your prayer requests. As we are preparing for our new center, we are running a series of visioning sessions. We had one last Tuesday, and the next one is this coming Tuesday, the 20th, at 6:30 Mountain Time in the evening. Everyone is welcome. Join us, and we vision for our center and the future of our community. And visioning is one of the spiritual tools that we use to get to truth, to find out what Spirit is really looking for in that area. So should be exciting. I know the last week's session was interesting and exciting, and I look forward to more this Tuesday. Invite you to join us. As I mentioned, Reverend Rachel will be in person next Sunday, and she'll be talking about overcoming silence. And that'll wrap us up for May. And as we move into June, the topic for the month of June is In Living Color. Probably not like the TV show, a little different than that. If you can remember back when In Living Color was on TV, got me a little bit of a giggle when I thought about it. So, but I'm sure Reverend Joe will do something good. All right. And now Marina is going to pull us all back in here so we can do our closing affirmation. Is that all of us? Yep, there we are. All right. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it, I embrace it, and I share it just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Life. All right. Thank you. Have a blessed week, everyone. Be at peace.